This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
This morning, a fatal end to a high-speed pursuit. A driver killed 30 seconds after taking off from police in Melbourne. A family's heartbreak. A young man dies from his injuries north of Sydney as the mystery surrounding what happened deepens. And taking aim, the Liberal Party splits over a secret recording revealing a push to legalise same-sex marriage. Good morning. A driver who sped away from police at 120 kilometres per hour has crashed into a fence and died in Melbourne. Police began pursuing the driver when he failed to stop over a traffic matter. Within 30 seconds, he'd lost his life. Tegan Dolling reports from Northcote. A young couple say they're still in shock after a drunk learner driver crashed into their Adelaide home. They were cooking dinner when they heard a loud bang and ran to check on their 5-month-old baby girl. Amanda Backman is at the scene. There's been a scathing attack on frontbencher Christopher Pyne after a secret recording revealed his push to legalise same-sex marriage. Live to Olivia Leeming in Canberra. Good morning, Olivia. The government's still deeply divided on this issue. Olivia Leeming in Canberra. Thank you, Olivia. Family and friends of Kirsty Bowden, who was killed in the London Bridge terror attack, will say their final farewells at a funeral this afternoon. Her parents, brother and partner will be among those attending the private service in her hometown of Loxton, northeast of Adelaide. The 28-year-old nurse was killed as she rushed to help those injured in the attack earlier this month. A new report has declared the Great Barrier Reef is worth $56 billion to the Australian economy. Accounting firm Deloitte Access Economics found the reef supports 64,000 full-time jobs and is worth the equivalent of 12 opera houses. It also found 60% of Australians would be willing to pay to protect the reef. The report warns of huge economic consequences unless more is done to save the reef from the effects of climate change. Coming up next in 7 News, a simple mistake that turned deadly. What sparked this fiery tanker blast? And a dangerous near miss, how onlookers came together to stop a theme park tragedy. One of Australia's most wanted men has been arrested in New South Wales. 29-year-old Jade Shakow was found hiding under a child's bed near Windsor. He was taken to Windsor Police Station where he was charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm relating to a domestic violence incident last year. To finance news, and joining us today, Justin Smirk from Westpac. Good morning, Justin. How's our market open today?
Good morning, Anne. Well, our markets opened fairly solid this morning, up 0.3%, with broad green across all the different sectors except for information technology, which was down 0.2%. Highlighting today was a rise in food staples and distribution, with particularly Metcash shares rising 7.3% on the back of better than expected profit announcements on their annual reports today. Mining stocks are up 0.3%, while banks are broadly flat, and the healthcare sector is up 0.5%. Now, the Aussie dollar too is trading around the 75.7 US cents, where much of where it ended last week, and at the moment it's just finding stability around those levels.
And what are the key events to watch out for this week?
There's really only one bit of data release coming out this week in Australia, and that's the private sector credit data due out on Friday. You have been seeing the housing sector's credit numbers slow as the bank's tightening rates. But also what we should be watching out for too is we've got two things happening internationally. One of them is here in Australia with the Federal Reserve San Francisco President Williams talking here today on the economic outlook. And following up on Tuesday night, we have the Fed Chair Janet Yellen speaking with the Nicholas Stern of the World Bank about the global economic outlook and what's that meaning for the current situation. Both events are going to set some tones for the global risk this week.
Justin Smirk from Westpac. Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you, Anne.
A tourist boat has sunk in Colombia. 9 people have drowned and 30 other people are missing. The ferry is seen lurching onto its side before sinking in a reservoir in the country's northwest. Witnesses told local media the boat broke in two, with the captain telling all passengers to rush to one side. There were about 150 people on board. Those who were rescued told investigators they weren't provided with life jackets. Rescue workers in Pakistan say a tanker explosion which killed at least 150 people was sparked by a cigarette. Local villagers had rushed to collect leaking fuel after the tanker crashed. when the oil ignited into a huge fireball. Army helicopters have been sent to the area to help retrieve the injured. Many are in a critical condition and there are fears more people will die. Another car has crashed into a crowd in England, injuring at least 6 people, but it's not believed to be terror-related. 3 children are among those taken to hospital after the crash outside a sports centre in Newcastle. Hundreds of Muslims were gathered there as part of celebrations marking the end of Ramadan. Witnesses say the female driver lost control of her vehicle. The accident occurred less than a week after Muslim worshippers were attacked in North London. Coming up next in 7 News, all the day's sport with Ryan Phelan, including the push to see Dally Cherry Evans back in the Maroons jumper. And Dance the Man, Ricciardo returns to the top of the Formula One podium.
How much fish is in a fish finger? Chicken in a nugget? Which foods aren't what they say they are? On Sunrise tomorrow.
Next in 7's Morning News, the national weather forecast with David Brown. Some migrating humpbacks have put on a spectacular show off Sydney this morning as they cruise back to cooler waters in Antarctica. A pod of 4 splashed and rolled their way past Coogee. They've been up north breeding in warmer waters. The National Parks and Wildlife Service says humpback numbers are up by 50% on last year. Let's get a check of the weather forecast now. Brani, you have some good news for skiers.
Indeed I do, Anne, and good morning to you. Yes, there is some snow in the wind and it looks like it'll fall later this week. Let's move to the weather wall now. In fact, we're popping into Perth where it's a clear day, a little bit cool, heading for a high of around 19 degrees. Melbourne too, fine conditions expected in the city. Partly cloudy skies at the moment, forecast top 14 degrees in Sydney. Look at this, it's a stunning day. Clear blue sky, just a gentle breeze, should reach a high of around 18 degrees, not far from that at the moment. And as we now fly into Brisbane, fine sunny weather on the way, quite warm too, around 25 degrees. Latest satellite data highlights an upper level trough that's been driving some patchy rain across the interior. Some of this rain will eventually make its way into New South Wales and Queensland later in the week. But down south, cold front is now surging across the Southern Ocean. This system will eventually bring some snow to the Alpine peaks a little later in the week. So let's move on to the forecast for tomorrow. In Brisbane, cloud increasing but remaining fine. It should reach a top around 23 degrees. Sydney also fine around 18 degrees. Another frosty morning in Canberra, down to -3 degrees. Boy, that's cold. Melbourne, fine, 14 degrees. Adelaide should be fine around 16 degrees. Perth tomorrow, fine, partly cloudy skies, 19 degrees. A little later in that forecast period, down to 13 in Melbourne. Cloudy for Sydney during Wednesday, but remaining dry, 18 degrees. That's the latest weather. More details at 4 o'clock.
Thank you, Brani. And that's 7 News to now. We'll keep you up to date right throughout the day. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Have a good day. Bye for now.